Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So we are going to assess as to what is wrong in the marketing of the SIS. Bsecr Enterprises market low capacity sprinkler irrigation sets (SIS) to small and marginal farmers and gardens. The company vision reflect focus on health, safety and environment (HSE) and value for money. The ethical code of conduct for managers reflect focus on honesty, integrity and generosity even at the cost of business goals. In 2018, to improve the bottom line, they stopped manufacturing the SIS in their factory and sold cheap imported SIS. They selected an award-winning ad in their campaign to reposition the imported SIS. In less than a year, nearly 42% of the SIS were reported to be defective, unsafe for use, and broke down frequently, requiring expensive repairs and long time to repair. On demand for replacements, the company refused to honor the replacement warranty on the pretext of a force majeure clause. Okay. Now, I want you to understand the context and reflect as to what's wrong in the marketing of SIS, particularly the repositioning. I'll close the screen with a view to have a better view of the class. Yes, so many of you are still not on our videos. Yes, Prince, Subhadeep, Shivani, Saswat, Arpan, Aditya, Neha. Yes, quickly on your videos. This should be spontaneous. That's better. Prince, still I can't see you. Shivani. Neha. Bhaskar. Yes, quickly. So what's wrong? Now that we have discussed the 4 approaches and you must have gone through the 5th approach, you should be in a better position to reflect. Sunit.
Yes, sir. The marketing of SIS by the company goes against the core values of company itself. That is, focus on environment and value of money. When the company started importing cheap SIS and which resulted in defective and broke down, and even if the company did not refused to honor the replacement, that shows the dishonesty of the company and the betraying of its loyal customers.
Dishonesty. Ashish.
In my point of view, the company who before they sell the low capacity sprinkler irrigations to the customer to the farmers, but later on they were decided to stop the SIS and sold cheap imported, which is shows that the dishonesty or integrity towards the farmers. So later on that was proved because in a less a year, nearly 42% of SI were reported to be defective. So and
some dishonesty.
Yes, sir, dishonesty.
Aniva?
Yes, sir. As the company's vision was to focus on the health, safety, and environment, and value for money, but in the run of getting profit, they forget about their virtues. So they wanted to market the cheap imported SIS, and in return they will get profit, but they didn't care about the safety of their customers. And as even they also didn't pay the warranty, means they didn't act for the replacement warranty in the pretext of the force much more major clause, so which which is not going according to the virtue, which is not virtuous actually. So,
yes, sir. As it said that they have the vision for the reflective focus of health and safety environment and also the honesty. But at the time of repositioning, they use a cheap product which broke the customer's trust regarding the particular organization. So the organization need to know if they are honest with themselves or not. With the customer is the other thing, but they need to find out whether they are doing the correct work or not by providing the cheap quality product to the customer.
A big
Yes, sir. So in order to achieve higher margin, higher profit, the company forgot its basic code, ethical code, which was which was the honesty, and they become dishonest to their customers. That way, there become a huge trust issue from the customers to the company.
trust. Okay. Sharda.
Sir, in order to earn more profit, they forgot their ethic and their vision. They used to give a good product to their customer, but in order to get more profit, they they gave cheap product to the customer, and also they did not give any proper of service after sell service to the customer. So it was a disadvantage for the customer.
Anirban.
Yes, sir. Sir, the main focus of the management was honesty, integrity, generosity. But what they did uh, by uh, by not fulfilling what they did was completely opposite of their of the focus what the company has focused, the ethical code of conduct of the company. So they were not generous. They were actually not generous and dishonest, and they had some major moral downsides.
Okay. Next. Quickly. Still, so many of you are not on your videos. Subhadeep, Sibani, Shashwat, Aditya. Yes, quickly. What's gone wrong? You heard about honesty, you heard about trust, you heard about vision. So you should also have your point of view. You could pick up from one of the earlier articulation or have a completely new view altogether. Kuzbu.
Yes, sir. So the company had the vision that reflected health, safety, and environment. But we see in the anecdote that 42% of the SIS were reported to be defective and unsafe also, and they did not honor the replacement policy warranty. Uh, uh, they did not honor their replacement warranty, refusing the customers to uh, replace the products.
That's okay, but what's really gone wrong? Okay. Now, first you have to pick up the key decision here and then analyze the decision with respect to ethics and conclude whether the decision was right or wrong. So, what is the key decision here?
The company
This
started
system
to
was to
import cheap
reposition.
SIS to increase the bottom line.
Reposition.
Yes, sir.
Assis, that's right. So, the decision to reposition. What are the essential elements of the repositioning? Positioning means what? Positioning means what? We have learned about positioning in marketing. Positioning means what?
Now, how the customer
All of you are
perceive your
learning.
brand.
Yes? Yes, Sunit?
So how the customer perceive your brand.
Wrong.
So a reposition like
Putting your brand
sale-
means what? First try to understand positioning, then repositioning.
So
What is
putting
positioning?
putting your brand in front, putting your brand in front of the customer so that they get the first look at it and buy it.
Wrong. Wrong.
Reduce that price or the showing them that we are selling you imported product but
No,
with cheap
no,
price.
no.
Sir, creating an image in the minds of customers so that they can relate to it.
No, that's not positioning. Deepa, what is
Sir,
positioning?
ability to influence customer.
No. Basics of marketing. Positioning. What is positioning? Then you will understand repositioning. Wrong. Then you try to reposition, right? But what is positioning?
So,
A certain beneficial value with the product, adding
Yes.
certain sir, adding certain beneficial value with the product.
Certain, incomplete.
sir,
Yes.
the mindset that the customer have in their mind regarding any particular
Mindset,
brand.
positioning is much more than mindset. What you
So
have learned in
how they
marketing?
they
Positioning.
differentiate
Please
between.
relate to your learning from marketing 1. More of it you learn in marketing 2, MM2. You must be learning already. Yes, there was
Sir, to create a sir, positioning means differentiating our brand from other similar brands available in the.
differentiating your brand. That is positioning. Shivani,
Sir, to create a unique image in minds of customer.
unique image, incomplete. Yes, anyone? You have to give me a functional understanding of positioning. When a marketer is trying to position a product or a service or a solution or an offer, what he or she is trying to do? Yes, Prince, you're smiling. I hope you have an answer.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prince, tell me. What do you understand by positioning?
So policing, it's basically positioning is basically
मुझे
putting
तुम्हारे मार्केटिंग प्रोफेसर से बात करना पड़ेगा. उसने ही सीखा किसी ने. Positioning is just like
Can you say that,
alphabet and numericals of marketing. If you have not understood positioning, you have not understood the alphabets and the numbers. Yes, Khushbu.
So it could be that how our product, how a company's product is different from its competitors. How
The
it
product is different. Bhaskar, ability to influence. Yes, Ashish again.
Drastically altering the product to the to change that what customer think about their
Altering product. Then why do you say positioning? You say altering product. Why you use a complex term which is less understood? You have heard about the marketing mix? Marketing mix
Yes, sir.
elements?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
What are the marketing mix elements? The basic marketing mix elements?
Product, price,
Product,
promotion,
price,
this.
promotion, yes.
The 4 P's. Product, price,
placement and
place,
place
Promotion.
and promotion.
promotion.
5 P's.
Positioning is nothing but managing your 4 P's. Is it simple to understand now? What is positioning? So you want your product to be successful in the market and therefore you want to position it. So you need to have a right product with features meeting the needs and wants of the customers. That's what's product. Okay? You
For an
need to
example, we can take for Maggie. Then when we in India,
hold
when,
on, please.
okay.
First is product. A product should have the attributes or features meeting the needs and wants of the target customers. That is the first P. Then you come to the place. Okay? So you need to place your product by choosing the appropriate channels. It could be an exclusive showroom. It could be an online marketplace. It could be a street corner, hut, bazaar, something. So you choose the appropriate place. But how do your target customers know that you have a great offering? So you need to promote your product. There you look at the below the line promotion, the above the line promotion. There are two objectives of promotions. One, to make the prospect aware about your offer. Second, to build a positive attitude in the minds of the people who are aware. So you create value by these 3 P's: product, place and promotion. Having created value, now you need to capture value by pricing your product appropriately. So this is how you need to understand positioning. Are all of you clear about positioning now? Any doubt on market positioning? Clear? So, clear about positioning?
Yes, sir.
Now we see how Jackson Enterprises reposition its SIS, a new product. Yes? Yes or no? A new product. So no more manufactured indigenously in their own factory, they imported, which appeared to be something very cheap. Then any other change in any other piece? Is there any change in the place? Is there any change in the price? We don't know. Is there any change in the promotion? So, is there any change in the promotion? Jackson Enterprises?
No, sir.
No.
Yes, sir. So they used
change in price.
award winning ad.
So, there are two significant changes. So, the repositioning is associated with a change in the product and a change in the profile of the promotion. We don't have data whether they sold at a lower price or a different price. We don't have data whether they used a different channel. Do you have data? I have not given you data. I have just given you data on the two P's, change in the product and change in the promotion. So do not take repositioning to be associated with radical changes. It could be incremental changes also. Okay? So maybe their cost was rising, so they saw a cheap import will help them to improve their bottom line. So the ultimate objective was to improve the bottom line. So here is a repositioning based on a new product and a new promotion. Are all of you clear about positioning and repositioning? So after the class, each one of you should frame an example of repositioning. Go to the internet, look at positioning, look at repositioning, and write an essay for yourself to have a clear understanding of this basic concept in marketing, positioning and repositioning. Okay. Today we are also talking about the extended piece, marketing mix elements. Okay. Do not bother about the extended piece. If you are thorough about the 4 P's, you will never have confusion on positioning, repositioning, which is the foundation of marketing. Okay. Now, all of you understand the repositioning. So now we are examining, was this decision to reposition correct or wrong? Okay. Can anyone now quickly summarize? If it is correct, why correct? If it is wrong, why wrong? From whatever you have said or from whatever you have heard, now we are focusing on a particular decision. Yes, Sarda?
Sir, I think it's wrong because they compromised on the product quality. So, in my opinion, it's wrong. Repositioning of the product.
My question to you is, you see, products are available in various qualities. If you look at a simple cell phone, and if you look at the quality, it could be from 1 to 10. And there are 10 ranges of prices also. So it may not be wrong to have a lower quality product at a lower price and higher quality product at a higher price. So lower quality per se, is it wrong? Think.
So not for all, for this example that we consider.
That's what my question to you. Please think, is lower quality per se wrong? Think. Avi?
Yes, sir. I would like to answer your question. The quality, when you mentioned about the quality, it is wrong because they didn't inform their customer. They reduced the quality without informing the customer.
Okay, that's better.
That's why it's wrong, sir.
Okay. Anirban?
Sir, I would like to answer the previous question that you asked, sir, about the positioning of the product. So because they positioned their product as money value for money product, but after repositioning, due to negligence in the quality, the actually repairing expenses grew many folds. So this shows that they were.
Anupam, what is negligence in quality?
Sir, negligence.
Are you meaning what Avik said? They reduce the quality silently without making the customers aware that this is a very different product, something like that.
No, sir. I would like to compare the two products before the ad, before the ad what they had, which was according to the vision of the company. But after getting it imported from other countries, the product that they got, the comparison between these two products, if we do, then we will get the. I'm talking from that point of view,
Okay.
sir.
In fact, you are meaning the same thing. Oliver?
Yes, sir, same thing, but in
Yes,
different.
sir. Sir, I think the repositioning of that cheap imported SAS is not right, because they are going against their company vision, which reflects on the health, safety, and environment, and also value for money. And even the code of conduct of the managers reflect honesty, integrity, and generosity, which they didn't reflect.
Okay.
So they're going
That's
against
better.
it.
That's better. Anyone could like to justify, oh no, there was nothing wrong in the decision. It's not wrong to sell a cheap product or a lower quality product. Anyone? Again, you are going off from your camera. Be active. Don't hide behind your screens. That doesn't help. Mindset is important for learning. For doing anything, you need a proper mindset. Unless you have a proper mindset, nothing works in this world. Yes, anyone wish to justify, oh no, what they did was correct. Now let me put a counterpoint. Yes, they sold a different product. So what? Are they the only company who are selling imported product? Okay, it's cheap. So what? Cheap doesn't mean bad. I buy a cheap pair of clothes doesn't mean that it is bad. I buy a cheaper car. Does it mean it is a bad car? Yes, there will be defects. There is a force majeure clause. In fact, all of you understand the force majeure clause? You recall force majeure clause you have learned from in the lab course?
Yes, sir.
So this actually they use the force majeure clause related to the COVID-19 lockdowns. In many of the shipments of spare parts, many service centers were dysfunctional during the lockdowns. So they use the force majeure clause with a view to refuse or express their inability to honor their commitment on the replacement warranty. So this is an unforeseen situation, and there is a protection given by the law, force majeure clause. So what wrong they have done? Yes? Anyone could like to argue?
Sir,
Yes, Anirban.
I fail to agree with you, sir, because this force majeure clause is only when actually initially it is not specified that what is there in force majeure clause, and also if we see that force majeure clause is applicable in the scenes of something drastic if it happens.
Yeah,
Something,
COVID-19 lockdown was something very, very drastic. Was it not drastic?
but sir, drastic to yes, sir, drastic to the economy.
Yes.
Eventually, it grew. Eventually, it grew, sir.
Yeah, this
But,
is time.
sir,
I'm presenting in the time when it was really drastic. I
yes,
want
sir.
each one of you to understand both sides of the coin. Don't just move on the way. Oh, it is wrong, wrong, and wrong. Also try to understand the counterpoint. Then only you will understand the concept better. Yes, Avi?
Yes, I agree with you, sir, because we don't know their financial condition. In order to better improve their bottom line, they did it. We do not know. Maybe they have done it for their survival. That could be also possible.
Possible. Okay. I am not giving you a decision. I am just trying to put the perspective so that you understand the context. I didn't want to burden you with a 10-page data related to the company. I just gave you one para capturing the summary, necessary data for you to understand the context. Okay. So, before moving, yes, Aliva?
Sir, can you please tell about the force majeure clause that I could not get it?
Okay. Force majeure clause is a part of any contract where, in case of exigencies, the parties to the contract can be exempted from fulfilling their obligations. For example, there is a natural disaster, there is a war. So there are certain such circumstances where things really become beyond your control and you cannot fulfill your obligations. Then this force majeure clause is applied. Okay? So Anirban said, oh no, there was no such situation. I was trying to tell him, oh no, COVID-19 lockdown was no less than a natural disaster. Okay? Economic lockdown, everything is closed. Yes or no? You have all experienced it. So I was trying to argue that this was no less. Not that you accept my argument, but my argument was this. Okay? Okay. Now, think of the context. Let me take you through the 4 approaches and then I'll use the cues to discuss and illustrate the 5th approach to ethics. Now, this repositioning, what do you feel would be the consequences? When 42% were found to be defective, people are dissatisfied, what would be the ultimate consequences? Will it actually improve its bottom line in the long run? Or its bottom line will be destroyed in the long run?
Destroyed.
Destroyed. So we can conclude that from the utilitarian approach to ethics, this decision to reposition the way they reposition is not correct. Did it violate anybody's rights? Picking up from what Avik said, maybe they have not communicated that this is a very different product and therefore consumers did not have sufficient information to make an informed choice. So that could be a violation of the rights of people to make informed choice. The choice is very important in terms of the rights. Third, did they do any injustice to anyone? Did the loyal customers deserve a defective product or a poor quality product? Did they, were they some customers incurred losses, were they compensated properly, appropriately? The appropriate compensation would have been replacement. They didn't get replacement. So maybe it did not pass the justice or fairness approach to ethics. Common good. We talked about public trust in a great way in the last session, right? Look at the loyal customers, the trust with which they bought the sprinkler sets. And now they are pushing a cheap product, not honoring the replacement warranty under the pretext of the force majeure clause. Maybe they are destroying the public trust, which is critical to a flourishing economy. And then coming to the virtue approach to ethics, some of you talked about the values, some of you talked about the vision. We'll discuss about these things in a few more minutes. So let me come back to my presentation. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these are our 5 sources of ethical standards or the 5 approaches to ethics. We have already discussed the utilitarian approach, the rights approach, the fairness and justice approach. In the last session, we discussed the common good approach, and today we pick up the virtue approach to ethics, the objectives, to gain insights into decision dilemma concerning virtue, the intended learning outcomes. We will use a 3-step approach to resolve ethical dilemma concerning virtue, and we will use the same healthy rice case study as an application. Now we come to the virtue ethics. Look at the past 4 approaches which we have discussed, which gives us direction as to, faced with a ethical dilemma, what should I do? That is, what Umesh Upadhyay should do faced with a dilemma concerning the launch of the healthy rice or the low GI rice. So the 4 approaches have given us a set of moral principles or universal rules which focus primarily on people's actions and doings. How it helps? It gives us a checklist, a list of do's and don'ts. But is there a risk? Is it making us slavish to worship of rules without any thoughts? So is it associated with thoughtless and slavish worship of rules, scrupulously checking our action against a table of do's and don'ts? Are we missing the essence as to what kind of people we should be, what kind of persons we should be, and what kind of organization our company should be? Are we getting into a mechanical way of deciding, looking at a set of do's and don'ts, as if it is an app and we input data and get the result, and based on the result from the input data, we take a decision? So that could be an issue here, because we end up being slavish worshippers of certain rules. This approach helps us to overcome such a thing. It helps us to understand what kind of person should I be, what kind of organization our company should be. It tells us about the ideals such as excellence or dedication to the common good. And these ideals are discovered through thoughtful reflection on what we as human beings have the potential to become, and we should strive, and this will allow the full development of humanity. And based on these, we will be in a better position to use the moral principles, and will not be purely a mechanical affair. And therefore, the first 4 approaches are the necessary conditions for resolution of ethical dilemma, but not sufficient. And when we add the virtue approach, focusing on what kind of person the decision maker should be, what kind of the organization should be, it completes our set of toolkit for the resolution of the ethical dilemma. What are virtues? Virtues are attitudes, dispositions, or character traits that enable us to be and to act in ways that develop our potential of thoughtful reflection. So mind you, we should not be thoughtless worshippers of the rules in a slavish manner. We need to have thoughtful reflection to be able to use those moral principles in the correct perspective. And for that, we need a set of attitudes, dispositions, or the character traits. And these would enable us to pursue the ideals we have adopted. What ideals we have adopted? That will focus on greater good for the greater number, learned from the utilitarian approach. Will not violate the right of anyone in general, and in particular of those who are in minority and who may not have a voice. Will not do injustice to anyone, and will contribute to promote and strengthen the common good. And thus these attitudes, dispositions, or the character traits will enable us to pursue the ideals we have adopted. And these attitude, disposition, character traits can be honesty, courage, compassion, generosity, fidelity, integrity, fairness, self-control, and prudence. And we have discussed in the past part of the class about some of these virtues, particularly honesty and integrity. So virtues are character traits in action. Aristotle, a noted philosopher whose work we have also discussed in the past, was a pioneer in contributing to this approach to ethics. And his articulation reflects virtue as a state of character by which you stand well in relation to your desire, emotions, and choice. If you have only vices and not virtues, you will not stand well in relation to your desire, emotions, and choices. As humans, we have desires, emotions, and choices, and these character traits enable us to stand well in relation to our desires, emotions, and choices. So when we think of desires and emotions, we understand to feel at the right times with reference to the right objects, towards the right people, with the right motive, in the right way. Going further, Aristotle articulated a concept of the doctrine of mean to make these character traits very objective and functional to be used in the decision making, particularly when there is an issue of ethical dilemma and a necessity to resolve the ethical dilemma. So the core of Aristotle's account of moral value is this doctrine of mean. And according to this doctrine, moral virtues are desire regulating character traits, which are at the mean between more extreme character traits, which are vices as per Aristotle. We will see some examples. What are the extremes, how they can be vices, and what is the mean, and how this mean is the real virtue. Look at this table. Courage is the mean. Two extremes, one on the deficiency, one on the excess. On the deficiency is cowardice, very obvious. On the excess is recklessness. So recklessness is not a virtue, it's a vice. Obviously, cowardice is a vice. Think of generosity as a virtue and the two extremes, stinginess and prodigality. They are vices. Think of righteousness or indignation. The two extremes, maliciousness, enviousness, two extremes and vices. Think of honesty. What does honesty mean? Often we confuse between honesty and integrity. Honesty is not same as integrity. Okay? So if somebody is in the habit of, giving, taking money, giving undue favors, that's a question of more about integrity as opposed to honesty. So don't confuse between honesty and integrity. Honesty is saying what is needed to be said, and the vice of deficiency, failing to say that is needed to be said. And the excess, the brutal honesty. What is brutal honesty? Kadwa such. So wait for the right time to say. Maybe this is not the right time, right place to say. Okay? Please note down this. We'll pick up this for discussion in the subsequent session, subsequent part of the session. And thus, these are character traits in action which lie at the mean, and the excess or the deficiency are not virtues, they are vices. Now, how do people develop these virtues? Aristotle not only gave objective meaning to the virtues, but also set a direction for the development of the virtues. As per him, there is a need for the organizations to provide a morally rewarding environment in which good people can develop not only their skills but also their virtues. So that takes us to the process of developing virtues. How do people develop virtues? They do so through learning and through practice. And where do they learn and practice to develop virtues? Within and by the communities to which they belong, including family, place of worship, place of education, place of work, and other private and public associations. So it is nothing something which is an innate characteristics. It is something which people develop over their lifetime through learning and practice. And when they keep developing on a continual basis, these virtues end up becoming habits. What's a habit? A habit is a virtue or a similar character trait which is in the intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. Think of honesty. You should know what is honesty, and not confuse honesty with integrity. That's the knowledge. You have thorough knowledge. Honesty means telling what is needed to be said or needed to be told. Now, you need to gain this skill. It's not easy to actually stop saying what is not to be said, okay, and wait for the appropriate time. You know, you'll find many big mouth, they will end up saying anything at any place, okay? So that's a skill you need to develop. Even if you have knowledge and a skill, unless you have a desire to be honest, you will never be honest. So the third dimension is the desire. And once you acquire habits, they become characteristic of a person. You know the old adage, old habits die. Can anyone fill up the gap? Old habits die hard. That's right. So virtues become your characteristics. And then you end up using the moral principles to resolve ethical dilemma in the correct perspective, in the right spirit. Now, having understood the concepts, we are now ready to apply the concepts to a given situation. I will use the concepts to resolve the ethical dilemma concerning the SIS repositioning and then quickly move to the healthy rice. We look at three things in the virtue test. One, does this action represent the kind of person I am or I want to be? The action in case of SIS is the repositioning. By repositioning, am I maintaining my honesty as a manager, my integrity, my generosity? Does it represent my organization's reputation or vision of the kind of enterprise it wants to be? My organization had some vision, some mission. Is this decision conflicting my organization's vision or mission? And then I have to reflect as to why is the character or virtue test a valid way to decide right and wrong? Because if I slavishly, thoughtlessly use some moral principles to suit some context, that may not be appropriate. Now, before coming to the smooth balanced rice, let me go through the three steps which I introduced to you in the opening session. One is, step one, ask if the action will help to make you the kind of person you want to be. Second, Ask whether the action will fit the company's reputation or vision of what it would like to be. Third, which is little subtle, ask whether the action maintains the right balance between excellence and success of the firm. Now, go back to the SIS anecdote and then apply the 3 steps and conclude whether the decision to reposition was correct or wrong. First one is related to the manager. You can assume there is a marketing manager who is entrusted with the responsibility of repositioning, just like Umesh Upadhyay in the Healthy Rice case study. So will this action conflict some of his virtues? Will this reposition conflict, or has the reposition conflicted on any of his virtues? Let me have your response. Can you pick up from what you tried to articulate in the beginning?
Yes, sir. This repositioning goes against the values of manager, that is honesty and integrity.
Honesty and integrity. Possible. Will he like to be a person of poor integrity and dishonesty?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So if this is our assumption, then definitely this decision is not correct. Come to step number 2. Ask whether the action fits the company's reputation or vision of what it like to be. What is the vision of the company?
For the health, safety management, and
Yes, sir.
health-
Safety and
Health, safety, and environment.
And something else?
Environment.
integrity and
Value for money.
Value for money.
money. Okay.
Is this decision supporting or conflicting?
conflicting.
Conflicting.
Conflicting, sir.
Conflicting.
Very right. Now let's come to the third one. Excellence and success. What do you mean by excellence? How is it different to success? Okay. Let me for a moment take you away from the SIS to yourself. You as students of the 2-year full-time MBA program. At the end of the 2 years, I would like to find out how many students have actually excelled. How can I find that? How can I find out students who have excelled? What should be the measure of excellence for students like you?
So placement.
Placement, sir.
Placement is excellence.
Good marks. CGPA.
Marks, placement, what in particular? I want a measure. Would you like to see a student who has got his dream job but struggling to pass as excellent student?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So how do you measure excellence? By marks or by placement?
Sir, in all respects.
In all respects. Okay. So park your view. Now we'll measure success. 2 students who has been successful and the other who has not been successful. Mind you, this is an MBA program, not a MA in history program. Where the ultimate objective is to graduate with a good CGPA. So it's a professional degree program, right? So it's not that you have successfully completed the degree with so and so CGPA. That's not success in a business management program. So how do you measure success?
To get a good job or a good job in placement.
Good job. That is one of the program outcomes. So which one measures success and which one measures excellence? And they need to balance both.
So in excellence, the score and the
That's
CGPA
right.
and the salary
So your
is both.
CGPA. So your CGPA is a measure of excellence. And your campus placement is a measure of success. Is there a need to balance?
Yes, sir.
Why? You got your dream job. You got your dream job, but just managed to pass. It's great. Why there is a need to balance? The dream job never remains as the.
We can't survive if
So
we.
if you have cheated all through and you have got your dream job, when you appear for the second job interview, then you realize that you have missed something. Then you realize that the imbalance between excellence and success is necessary. I don't want to see my topper struggling for a decent job. I don't want to see a student with a decent job struggling to pass. Fine, entry-level job is important, but that's not the end of life. 50% of you will quit your entry-level job in less than 3 years and look for better jobs. If you have not learned anything and just superficially you have passed your course and got a campus placement, it is not going to help you in life. Therefore, you need to balance excellence and success. In the pursuit of becoming the topper, don't ignore placement training and student development. In the enthusiasm to crack a placement, don't ignore your academics. Both are important. You need to balance. All of you understand? Success, excellence, and they need to balance both. Now
Yes, sir.
SIS. Now let's come to SIS. Can you see any excellence in SIS? Any excellence? No excellence. All bad things. Did they use something which was excellent?
So the reputation, so
Reputation.
they had a great reputation of having a good product quality, which they eventually did not carry on.
No, I am talking about repositioning. What was excellent in the part of the repositioning? We are talking about the repositioning decision, no? Think of the 4 P's. Product was definitely not excellent. What was excellent?
Price, sir.
Advertise
Promotion. That's right.
promotion.
Award-winning campaign. Can it be considered as excellence? Yes or no? No. Do you understand that now? Can it be considered as excellence?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now what is success?
To
Bottom
sustain
line?
the.
Bottom line? Is there a balance? Is there a balance or there is an imbalance?
Imbalance.
Balance.
Balance. So on 3 counts, the decision to reposition is not correct. All of you understand this? Now, if I have understood, you should be in a position to tell me about the smooth balance rice. Go to the healthy rice case study and tell me the 5th decision question. Quickly. One of you need to tell me the 5th discussion question. What is the 5th discussion question?
So the question is the launch with the target tagline correct from virtue approaches of ethics?
Simple. Is it correct from the virtue approach to ethics? Let me present the context again for your recall. The marketing team presents a low GI rice with smooth balanced rice ad campaign, large print and dynamic type on the package exclaiming, low GI rice will catch the attention of people with diabetes and increase sales. Concerned about blood sugar level, people with diabetes will purchase the low GI rice. However, it offers blood sugar control advantage only on regulated eating and can cause harm on regular eating. The product manager's immediate reaction is this marketing campaign is unethical. How can he be sure about his judgment? How can he convince the marketeers? And how should he act in this situation? He is presenting his case to the top management for a final decision. He is already having strong points on the first four approaches to ethics. He wishes to strengthen his position by saying that it is also wrong from the virtue approach to ethics. How can he do that? We'll use the same three questions. Okay. Step 1. Which virtue of Umesh is likely to conflict if the low GI rice is with the target theme? Yes.
Fairness, virtue, approach.
Which virtue? Fairness.
Honesty.
Honesty. How honesty? Why honesty?
If we don't reveal the proper GI figures, it will affect the health of the public, and this will.
What is your understanding of honesty?
The honesty means to properly display the actual figure, means to not to reveal everything, not to conceal anything which will be damaged, which will be in the long run.
Yes. Anyone else? Yes. Anyone else can pick up from Sunit?
Yes, sir. I think the honesty, which is the thing which is not means which is not taken correct. If it is launched, then honesty will be questioned because he has the experience of a product manager. But if he chooses to launch that tagline, then it will not go in the honesty.
Why? It will appear to be dishonest. Okay, this I'm just skipping. I already covered this. Let's come to this. So will this action help to make Umesh the kind of person he wants to be? Is the basic question? Yes or no? Look at the conventional view of a marketeer. The campaign represents the fact that they're very creative and clever marketeers. But look at the view of the product manager. The purpose of marketing is to discover what the customer needs and to provide the information and motivation for the customer to fulfill that need. So, if he's providing the information and motivation, then there is absolutely no conflict of virtue. But if not, then there is a problem. So they have designed a campaign that is clever but misleading. It may be excellent, just like an ad, just like an award-winning ad. So he is not saying what is needed to be said. What is needed to be said here?
The actual GI figures.
GI figure. GL figure. Serving size, which he is not telling. Honesty is telling what is needed to be told. So what is needed to be told here? The GI figure, the GL figure, the serving size, which is not being told. Honesty is important for people to live well and for companies to flourish. A wise marketer would not undertake this campaign because it will reflect his dishonesty, because he is not telling what is needed to be told. Is it clear to all of you? Now we'll go to the second step. Ask whether the action will fit the company's reputation or vision for what it would like to be. Can you refer to the mission statement of the company in the case study? Quickly, can anyone reflect on the mission statement? Quickly, mission statement. Quickly, can anyone tell me the mission statement of the company? Then you will be in a better position to analyze if this action is going to conflict or support.
To channelize our talent into greater and better RT and better product that will take Prasad to leadership position in the global agro industry market.
So is it conflicting or supporting?
Conflicting.
Conflicting.
Anyone? Anyone else? Conflicting. So the question is, will the action fit the company's reputation or vision of what it would like to be? The company mission statement says that our product should be marketed responsibly and that our employees aim at ethical behavior and sustainable results. And the Smooth Balance Rice campaign does not fit these commitments. Very simple. Okay. Now let's come to the third question. What is the third question? Ask whether the action maintains the right balance between excellence and success of the farm. Yes, does it maintain? What is excellence here? And what is success here?
Excellence may be the sell the product,
Excellence is sell a product.
like to capture the markets here.
That excellence. Are you confusing with excellence and success?
Sir, excellence is like how often the organization is doing well in the firm.
What is excellence here? Is there anything excellent? Just like award-winning ad in the SIS campaign. Is there any excellence here?
So the launch of the tagline could be the excellence.
Launch is the excellence. Yes, anyone else? Launch is a complete process, no? Within the process, there should be something, some excellence.
So the quality of the low GI rice that they have identified.
Product is excellent.
Sir.
Maybe the rate of ROE is the
ROE is excellence. Are you confusing again? Success, the excellence. Grades with placement. Both are important, but both are different. Look at the creativity and clever campaign. The campaign, the tagline, the creativity. Okay? It could be an excellent tagline. Have you heard about stories where the ad won awards, but the product failed? Have you learned any such stories in marketing? Yes, any such stories in marketing? Can anyone give an example of an ad which won awards, but the product which it was promoting failed. Anyway, this is homework for you.
Sir, in the 1900s, I just have a single example. Like Starbucks, don't ever like does its advertisement and all. So in the van they have written Starbucks, and when somebody like slides the van's door, then that Starbucks turns into sucks. So people read it as sucks. So that was the one demerit for them.
Yes, and also sir, the Josh Cola story which we were taught, sir.
Yeah, it is three. It's like I'm telling something slightly different.
Yes.
Very good ad, award-winning ad, but the product failed. Operation successful, patient dead, something like that. So it should not be a case like operation successful and patient dead. It should not be a very creative ad and product failing. Company incurring losses. Company gets an award for its creativity and ultimately incurs losses because the product fails. Are you understanding the context? So here we also look at the creativity. Creativity for the sake of creativity has no meaning. So focusing on how creative the campaign is and how much revenue it will generate in the short run does not strike a proper balance with the long-term success. And therefore, there is a clear imbalance between excellence and success, that is, excellence representing the creative ad, success representing the long-term financial success. Right? So, on 3 counts, step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, the proposed decision does not pass the virtue test. What we can conclude? That this decision is not right because it will place the product manager in poor light, it will place the company in poor light, and there will be gross imbalance between excellence and success. So now Umesh has a very strong reason to say that this decision is not right because it doesn't pass any of the 5 tests of ethics. Now let's look at some strength and weakness of this approach to ethics. Strengths. It addresses the larger question of what kind of individuals and companies it is good to be, and community we are part of it. Reflecting on one's virtues, reflecting on one's vision, mission. So it takes you beyond being a slavish worshipper of rules in a thoughtless manner and develop the ideals which will enable you to pursue the moral principles in the correct perspective. But there are certain weaknesses too. One, we are normally motivated more by factors in the situation, even those with no ethical significance. Just because you want to be honest, just because you want to be a person with high integrity, just because you want to be generous, you end up trying to be generous even when there is no need to be generous. Even you try to be, courageous even when there is no need of courage. So we continue to attribute our own and others' actions, good or bad character traits rather than the factors in the situation. So we should not get absolute on the virtues. Virtues are important, but they are also relevant to the context given. So despite these 2 weaknesses, this approach has been found to be very strong in resolving ethical dilemmas. So next class we'll take up spheres of executive responsibilities and resolving ethical dilemma. We'll use a case study, the man in the mirror A. I will pass on the case studies today, tomorrow. This case study will be evaluated. Every session I have less than 10 voices. Okay, I'm recording the participation to be incorporated into some class participation later. But the next case discussion will be a complete evaluation for each student. So you need to come prepared and participate. There are 3 discussion questions in the case study. So there is a decision dilemma facing the protagonist, Sebastian. He has 3 choices: do nothing, exploit the situation, take action. You have to use the 4x5 matrix to analyze the options. I will explain this matrix to you. So this is our tool to resolve ethical dilemmas. At the top we have the 5 approaches to ethics, which we have discussed in great detail in these 5 sessions. The utilitarian approach, the rights approach, the fairness or justice approach, the common good approach, and the virtue approach. Now coming to the spheres of executive responsibility. Think of Umesh Upadhyay as the product manager. He is a private individual. Obviously, he is a private individual. And as a private individual, he is concerned about his virtues. As a pure private individual, he has no business about consequences, very little concern about rights, very little concern about common good, and very little concern about fairness or justice. But he is just not a private individual, but also he is an economic agent. He has been appointed by the board to make money, to earn a decent rate of return on the invested capital. And here, he is focused on consequences, using the utilitarian approach to ethics. He is also a leader. He is leading a team of marketing professionals. So these professionals are looking up to him. He is also looking at the customers. So he cannot violate the rights of the customers, and he cannot do any injustice to his team. And therefore, as a company leader, he is concerned about the rights approach and the fairness or justice approach. He is also having responsibilities outside the boundaries of the firm. He is a networker. He is a social person. And thus, he also has a responsibility to contribute to the common good. So, note down these ticks. So, draw this. I'll share this slide for you, but still, please draw this table. So, the ethical dilemma becomes complex because of association of multiple spheres of executive responsibility. If it was only one sphere, the complexity could have been much less, but because it is 4 spheres. And the 4 spheres are further complicated by what is possible in this real world. We are in a Kali Yuga. We are not in a Satya Yuga. So there are even limitations what is really possible in the world as it is. The Machiavellian theory. And thus we look at the ethical dilemma facing Sebastian and decide what he should do, whether he should do nothing, or he should exploit the situation, or he should take action. Okay? So now I will open up the class for question answers. Yes, questions now. I presented one illustration, one application to explain you the concepts concerning the virtue approach to ethics. Now you are free to ask question, and after you ask question, I will have my questions for you. Yes, quickly. Let me see all of you now. Yes, Priyanshu, Gautami, Sambita,
Sir,
Aditya, Yush. Yes.
sir, can you please again explain why the healthy rice case study failed on the first approach, the utilitarian approach?
Beg your pardon?
Sir, why the healthy rice case study failed for the first
Okay.
approach,
Okay.
utilitarian?
What do you do in the utilitarian test? We identify the stakeholders. Okay. And then for each stakeholder, we estimate the cost and benefit or pleasure and pain. So in the short term, we saw everybody is gaining. The customers are happy, sales is increasing, company gets profit, marketeers get incentive, suppliers get business, government gets taxes. So everybody is happy, everybody is benefited in the short term. But in the long term, people with diabetes end up having high blood sugar because of regularity, which is likely to be disclosed. It will not remain hidden. Therefore, they will stop buying this rice. In the long term, when they stop buying this rice, no sales, no profit, no incentive for marketeers, no business for suppliers, no revenue for the government, or rather, the disease burden will fall on the society. So, in the long run, there is greater harm for the greater number, and therefore, it is not correct. It doesn't create greater good for the greater number in the long term. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir,
Yeah.
in the spheres of executive responsibility, we are presenting the one person in different positions. Like the manager in the private individual will select the virtual approach for the individual concern regarding what kind of person I want to be in future. And as per the economic agent, he is perspective of the customer or the perspective of the company. He is representing himself.
Okay. When we say multiple spheres of responsibility, if he is a private individual, he also has a responsibility as an economic agent. As an economic agent, he has a responsibility to create greater good for the greater number. Okay. In a narrow sense, he is to create value for the stockholders. But we are not looking at a narrow view. Utilitarianism is not looking at only stockholders. It is looking at all stakeholders. So greater good for the greater number. Okay. So the complexities is real, because in any decision making position at that level, you are not only an individual where you will protect your virtues. While protecting the virtues, you need to create greater good for the greater number. You need to contribute to the common good. You need to protect the rights of the concerned people and not do any injustice. Therefore, the job becomes quite challenging. It becomes complex. Okay. Why I discussed approach by approach, so that you understand these approaches thoroughly, so that you can actually apply it in a complex decision dilemma. Did I answer your question or anything else?
Okay.
Yes, anyone else? Done? Okay. Let me give you a small situation. You are a business manager in a B2B context, you have won a bid with a client under steep competition. But in the process of executing your order, you find that you have to engage yourself in a questionable practice. I repeat, in the process of execution of the order, you have to engage yourself in a questionable practice. Okay. I'm not naming the questionable practice. You can assume what this questionable practice can be. Okay. Now tell me, should you go ahead with the execution of the order through the questionable practice, or you will do something else? The questionable practice can be bribe, it can be illegal gratification, okay, which are very common, not very uncommon, okay. So what should you do? Yes, again, many of you have gone off from your cameras. Let me see you. Yes, quickly. Bhaskar, Trushita, Devasmita, Aditya. What should you do? You won a bid under steep competition, or to your utter surprise, in the process of execution, you have to get into some questionable practice. What should you do? Yes, quickly. Yes, Aswat, let's hear from you. What should you do and why? Yes, Aswat, unmute yourself and let's hear from you. Itisri?